curious if there's any projects that you wish more people had seen, or knew of, or less people.
Are there things that I wish people hadn't seen?
Either one.
Yeah, actually, the second one is a better question. But I'm not going to answer it because then people would see it. I did do a movie once with Gary Busey. What, did Gary Busey do something to the boys? So I did this movie with Gary Busey. Is that the first blade you're holding? Holy moly! I would think they would check you for weapons before coming to a Megatron panel. Wow! Oh, okay, alright, that's fine. Oh, okay, I get it. That movie is one of those ones where if I could wave a magic wand and make it never have existed, that one would be that movie. The thing that I wish people had seen but haven't would be probably Dan Versus. I was always really disappointed that more people didn't know about Dan Versus. I thought it was a really clever show, funny show. I would have liked to have had more people see that, and one of my favorite movies, which is that I have done, which is a movie called Route 30. And it's a small, little, independent movie that was directed by a guy named John Posh. And I love that movie so much, but no one sees it. It just disappeared, you know, so it's one of those things. So that would be the two. Thank you. Yes?
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, I just wanted to say I'm glad that your co-worker Robert is fine from his accident. Was glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Second of all, I wanted to know how did you land up the role of Booger on Revenge of the Nerds?
Okay, second part first, is I auditioned, I was living in New York, I was an actor in New York, and I went in to read for Revenge of the Nerds. I had already done Risky Business, and it was held up on release because of post-production artistic differences, and it went on and on and on, so I was sort of desperate. And they sent me the Revenge of the Nerds script, which I thought was horrible. And, but they said the audition would be for Gilbert Lowe. And Gilbert was the part that Anthony Edwards played. But at the time, I thought, well, I don't think much of the script, but it's a great part. I'll go in and read for it. So I went in and read for it. And then they called back and they said, well, you did great. And that's when you know you're in trouble. You did great. But they're offering that to Anthony Edwards. And they said, but they loved what you did and they wondered if you'd consider playing another role. And I'm thinking, okay, it's not Lamar Latrobe. And it's not Takashi. And it's not Worms. You know, I'm working it down. I figured it was down to either Poindexter or Booger. And I remember saying to my agent, I'm reading you, this is my red line. They offer me Poindexter, I'll take it. They offer me Booger, you turn them down like a bedspread. I'm not doing Booger. Don't even call me. So they're offering you Booger. Okay. Cool. So that was that. You know what? I'm going to mention something quickly, if I may, while you're, because you mentioned Bobby. You all, some of you know, Bobby and I are doing a show called King of the Nerds. But Bobby was in a horrible car accident. last week in Colorado, and he's hurt. We were really scared about it actually for a while. It's not as bad as we thought it was going to be, and I've been in touch with him, and he's on the mend, which is wonderful. But I was thinking that I'm somebody who has a pretty strong belief in the power of nerds, and I don't know whether all of you would self-describe as nerds necessarily, but in a sense, I think you are. And even if you're not, you have obviously really strong belief systems of some kind. And so Bobby is still in the hospital, and I was wondering if just in the course of today, you just send some positive thoughts.
Thank you, Larry.
Yes?
I know a lot has changed with filmmaking with the digital age, but what's changed specifically about acting?
Wow, really good questions. Changed in acting? I don't think anything has changed in acting. I think it's all, as you start your career, you learn things, and I started in the theater, so I had a pretty strong sense of what you did in the theater to act. But I didn't really know anything about film acting, and one of the things that I discovered pretty quickly was, although there are adjustments that need to be made, they're not dramatic. And once you have experience on stage and on camera, there's not really a lot that ever changes. Digital doesn't change anything as far as the craft goes, except it allows people to do more takes, which is probably not a good idea in the long run. And not everyone does that, but it does allow for that. But I can't say that digital has changed very much in the actual process of acting. That's all that's probably been unchanged since, the Greeks. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I just want to say I'm a huge fan first, and I was wondering what it was like to work on a set of House and work with Hugh Laurie.
Oh man, that was so cool. That was, I love Hugh Laurie. I loved it back in the Bit of Fry and Laurie days. I loved it even more on the Jeeves Lister series. Oh God. Brilliant guy, and I loved working with him on that. I had a very small role. It was a big episode. It was actually a movie. We shot it as a movie. And for those of you who haven't seen it, House has his, ultimate huge breakdown, and he winds up in an asylum, essentially. And he's in there with all of these, legitimately crazy people. And of course, I got him on that one. Is it crazy? Here's my number. And so what it meant was, even though the part itself is not huge, it meant that I was able to, we had to be there all the time. Because every time the camera was on Hugh, unless he was in like an office or a bedroom, it was on the rest of us. So you always had to be there, and you always had to be in character. And it was like going back to my theater days. It was like being with a group, and Hugh was so awesome and so fascinating to watch this guy because he's so meticulous. He had his English, obviously, and he's playing this American and faultless American accent. And you would be in the middle of a scene, and he would say, I forget what the line was now, as an example, he would say, well, it's a situation, it's a situation of rules. It's a situation, and he would just stop, and he would go, situation, rules. And it was like, he heard a mistake in his accent that no one else heard. But it was like in there, and he had to find it and get it, and then it, came out. And he was so generous and so marvelous, and he got kind of a warm feeling for that group of us who wound up with him, all the crazy people we spent a month with. We shot it for a month, and when it was all over, he and Katie Jacobs, who's the director, took us out to dinner at the Palm Restaurant. They reserved a private dining room, and they took all of the crazy people out for dinner. Class. I mean, we were drinking like $30 martinis. It was like, oh, this is life. So it was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I'd like to ask you, do you have a funny or memorable moment from Revenge of the Nerds?
Oh.